This is a story about abandoned bishop pair. Currently, there are lots of defenders. Rook on d8, rook on c5, queen. But one by one, they're gonna abandon the bishops. First, white plays b4. The rook cannot move to c7 immediately. So, black chose to play queen takes f3. Exchange queens. So this is one defender less. Now, white takes with the pawn. White wants to keep the rooks on the e file, and also he wants to keep the knight on d4. White is damaging the pawn structure, but it's gonna be worth it. When the rook moves to c7, now white plays rook e8. Eliminates one more defender. Black takes. Goes to h7. This rook on c7 is stable as Bambi on ice. White is using that, and the two bishops are completely stuck. And white plays knight b5. Now the rook has to stay on the c file by rook c6, but now bishop d5 wins the exchange. On the next move, white's gonna take on c6 and be an exchange up. For example, if black goes rook b6, trying to hit the knight, white can simply take. And if rook takes b5, now white doesn't move the bishop because of check on g5. He can defend the bishop and attack the rook at the same time by c4. And if the rook moves, let's say to b6, then you take a piece. If bishop d7 here, white can just take. Black takes on e8. And if bishop e5, which would be a nice try to trap the knight, now white can just play f4 and free his knight. In case of bishop takes f4, knight f6 check, take on d5, and white's a piece up. If bishop takes c3, then the knight goes to d6, and once again white is a piece up. One thing I haven't mentioned early on was what happens if queen h2 check. Black is keeping the queens on the board, we have king f1 and now rook c7. But now white has a very strong response, queen f6, threatening the rook and also threatening to go rook e8. For example, if black goes rook cd7, there's a check, and if king h7, just mate on h8. If black goes to f8, then d5 pawn hangs and queen g6 is a threat. So if king h7, now comes knight f3. Black is suffering a lot because, let's say, queen h1, king e2, now the queen is stuck. If queen takes on g2, there's knight g5, and white's gonna win a queen. You saw how these defenders were one by one being picked off. First the queen, then the rook on d8, and when there was only one defender left, with knight b5, white finished the job.